I must confess, for the first time on the show, I'm going to mention two words I've never said on the air: bearded dragons. But even though my knowledge of bearded dragons as pets is quite anemic, we are in good fortune because today we are going to be schooled about this very popular pet reptile from one of the country's top veterinarians in the world of exotic pets. Please, at this time, welcome to the show the owner and head veterinarian at the Avian and Exotic Animal Hospital in Pooler, Georgia, Dr. Stacy Wilkinson. Welcome to the show, Dr. Stacy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You had me at Bearded Dragon. I mean, what a cool gig you have. I love veterinarians. A lot of my friends, and then have been guests on the show, are talking dogs. They're talking cats. But you know, iguanas and birds and bearded dragons. Oh my. I really do have to ask you, were you a little girl saying, when I grow up, I want to specialize in bearded dragons?
Well, part of it. So yes, I am one of those that when I was like 9 or 10, decided I was going to be a vet, and that was it. So yes, but when I was a little girl, I was all about kittens. So that changed to reptiles. Probably like when I was in high school is when I started getting really interested in reptiles. Yeah, I asked my mom for an iguana and she said no, which was very smart of her at the time.
Doesn't bark.
She was like, it's going to be 6 feet long and 20 pounds and live for 20 years. And you're going away to college in 4 years. No.
I hate when moms are smart.
So when I was in college and undergrad, we had a herp collection on campus, my on-campus job. And so that's where I really got, because I knew I was going to go to vet school, but that's where I really got into like, oh, I think this is what I want to do with exotics instead of dogs and cats. And I had a couple friends that had pet birds. And that's where I really started like, okay, this is what I want to do. Let me look at different schools and what can I do if I want to do exotics rather than dogs and cats.
That's cool. So we're teeing you up because, yes, you take care of a lot of different exotic animals, but you're going to be speaking about bearded dragons at a big veterinary conference. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So VMX is it's usually the first conference of the year. In like the veterinary community. It's always in January, and it's also always the biggest. It is humongous. So usually like 15,000 people, like not all vets, practice managers, technicians, students too, but it has grown through the years. The BMX people can correct me, but I think last year it was like 19,000 or something like that. So,
wow. So
I've spoken there. This will be my 5th year speaking.
Yay! Hey, if you were on Saturday Night Live, you'd get a
Oh, that's right. I would. The 5 but yeah, I spoke for the first time in 2016, I think 2016 or 2017. And so it's grown a lot over the years, but one of the reasons I love speaking there, and I'm sure other specialists like speaking there too, is that, this is all I do. So I am a specialist, but at my practice, I'm also a generalist. Like, I'm a primary care vet for people too. And so being able to kind of spread knowledge to other veterinarians who
I like that.
What I get are people who like want to see more reptiles in their practice, and they want to incorporate reptiles and, or birds and small mammals and stuff like that. And so how they come to learn the kind of latest and greatest and the newest stuff. And that's what VMX tries to do too, is, by bringing together experts and specialists for us to kind of spread the knowledge, so to speak.
Hey, knowledge is power, So, all right, I confess to you, I know nada about bearded dragons. I did some research, and definitely you said they should not be eating 50 crickets a day, and you want them to avoid, I would hate this syndrome, tail rot. All right, talk this food and then tail rot for 200, please, Dr. Stacy.
Yeah, so this, the talk that I'm doing about bearded dragons is kind of the top like myths that we hear kind of from the internet and groups and stuff like that. So clients come in and they, they're feeding, 30 crickets 3 times a day or stuff like this. Or like they come ask, tail rot's a common one. And most of us that treat reptiles, we don't like that. You get a lot of colloquial terms that, that
What is
actually-
tail rot?
what it actually is tail tip necrosis. So the tissue at the end of the tail dies, usually because when these guys are babies and they're in pet stores or at breeders and stuff together, when they see movement, they think it's food and they go after it. And so they commonly bite each other's tail tips and toes and stuff like that. Or you can have injuries like the tip of the tail gets shut in the cage door or something like that. And so if that happens, then the blood supply dies and the tissue dies. And so it looks black and hard. Well, the thing about bearded dragons is they have stripes on their tails, and their tails naturally get darker as it goes toward the end. So people see that the end of the tail looks dark and they think that there's a problem with it. When usually it's not. Usually it's totally fine. But when it is, then we do need to address it. And so we get a lot of visits that are for tail rot. And when I'm like, no, his tail is actually totally normal. That's what it's supposed to look like. Because people will post pictures on the internet and ask, and people will tell them, oh, that's tail rot, or oh, your beard is dehydrated, or oh, your beard is too skinny. And that's how a lot of these myths get perpetuated. So,
Well, we got the real skinny from an exotic veterinarian, and that's you, Dr. Stacy Wilkinson. I mean, let's talk about food. I feel bad for crickets right now, but what are some things a bearded dragon would be like at a Thanksgiving feast? What would be the bearded dragons? Oh my gosh, this is the best meal ever.
the best meal ever, they would probably say is superworms or hornworms, but
They're not my choices.
So the biggest thing is that beardies, when they're babies, they grow super fast from birth to like about age 1. And then they're pretty much their adult size. And so people like to watch their pets eat. And so they throw the bugs in and the beardies going crazy, scooping them all up. And then we see a lot now, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse in my career with a lot of pet bearded dragons are obese, or they grow too fast. And it's bad for their liver. We see a lot of fatty liver disease and health issues from that. And so
you don't do any body shaming when they come in, do you?
No, but we do tell them like, yes, so we need to come back a little, or he's a little chubby. But then we show people like, okay, this is what I'm looking at. This is how I can tell. And so this is what we need to kind of cut back on. And so they're omnivores, so they should have insects, but we try to do a variety. And so superworms are very high in fat. So we try to do some things that are lower fat, but then they should be getting plant material too. So dark leafy greens and some vegetables and stuff like that. And so when they're young, they tend to like the bugs. And then as they get older, they should be eating more of the salad items. And so we have to kind of teach them how to do that and transition so that when they get to be adults, they're not still eating 20, 30 insects every day. Yeah.
And I know that it's very important to select good vegetables and fruits that are no pesticides, right? Make sure, check it out. Rinse them, wash them.
Yeah, wash them off. Yep.
Okay. How big does a bearded dragon become? Is it going to be on a movie now making King Kong look small, or what?
No, that's part of the reason that they're so popular, honestly, is because they stay fairly small. So they're about 2 feet, like from nose tip to tail tip. So body, about 10 to 12 inches, tail about 10 to 12 inches. Yeah. So,
and how much do they weigh?
So about a pound, I would say. So, because for us, usually 400 to 600 grams is, what we're looking at. So yeah, around a pound, a little over a pound for a big boy. But
so everyone, we are diving in deep about everything as a bearded dragon pet with one of the experts in our country. She is an expert in exotic pets. We're speaking with Dr. Stacy Wilkinson. She's a veterinarian in practice, owns her own place. It is called the Avian and Exotic Animal Hospital in Pooler, Georgia. That sounds cool. Pooler, Georgia. Where the heck is that?
It's right outside Savannah.
Oh, beautiful. I'm going to be in Savannah in March. Beautiful, beautiful area. Now, I just have to ask you personally, I know you have a family, and you sent me a picture of this cute little boy holding a bearded dragon. There's a little nepotism going on. Who is that person and what's going on?
Yes, that was my son.
And what's his
His
name?
name is Bill. I think he was about 4 in that picture. He's 6 now, but that's one of his favorite things when he comes to the office is to come inside and see the animals. Can I come inside and see the animals? And then, of course, he wants to hold things and pet things and stuff that can be.
Oh, he got your exotic genes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves reptiles. His
Oh.
dad loves reptiles too. So that's he gets it natural. But yeah, that's one of our frequent boarders. And so she doesn't mind if people hold her and pet her. And so
So let's talk about the personality because I've been told they're a very popular reptile pet. Why?
part of the reason, like we're talking about how they stay kind of small and they're very calm. They're very tolerant. So they really don't care. Like you joked about, can they sit and stay? Well, they pretty much do. Like they pretty much sit wherever you put them. So
Okay.
they'll see people, like that's one of the things people look forward to when their beardy's grown as an adult is you just pop them on your shoulder and sit on the couch and watch TV or walk around your house doing whatever. And they just stay there. Like they don't care. They're very tolerant of handling. They don't seem to mind kind of whatever you do. They like to come out and, walk around and sit in the window and sun and stuff like that. But they're very calm. They hardly ever bite. So that's part of the reason that they're so popular.
So they're not harassing the FedEx guy?
No.
But what about how do they mingle with like cats or dogs? What's your caution?
So most of the time you're going to need to kind of watch your cat or dog, like because of their personality. Like if you have a dog that likes to chase, small animals or stuff like that, because the bearded dragon, like a lot of times doesn't care.
Oh.
So like they'll just be hanging out on the floor and you have to make sure that your other pet isn't going to hurt them. There are some that might be scared and try to run or that like, especially when they're babies, they are prey animals. So when they're in their enclosure, like if you have a cat that's going to sit and stare at it, or something
That's
like that.
rude.
Yeah, sometimes you have to keep the cat from doing that. The beardy doesn't like it, but yeah, they're for the most part they're just so chill that they don't really care about that kind of stuff.
So I've always been dying to ask an exotic veterinarian. So let's talk poop. So kitties have litter boxes, dogs go outside. What kind of substrate do beardies go to the bathroom in, or do they need their own little private bathroom with a door drawn? Or give us some do's and don'ts on evacuation of the box.
There's a lot of different ways to do it with a bearded dragon. So,
Okay.
So substrate is going to be a very controversial topic among bearded dragon owners because there are
I
some
did not realize on this
Yeah,
show I was
so-
going to get into controversy
there are
with
some
bearded
people
dragons.
that are going to advocate for naturalistic type enclosures. So like a bioactive setup or sand, like play sand or stuff like that.
Okay.
And then there are the people who are going to advocate for keep it clean, keep it tidy. What's easiest for the owner to do? So a lot of people do tile or shelf liner, newspaper, paper towels, reptile carpet, things like that that are non-particulate. And my opinion is that with a bearded dragon, any of those usually are fine. It's kind of whatever the owner is committed to, So
Yeah.
a lot of people like the sand, but then some people don't want to clean that up. And so if it's going to make them not take care of their animal, then the easier thing for them to keep it cleaner is going to be better for that animal and keeping it healthy. So beardies usually are going to poop in their enclosure kind of wherever they want to.
Oh,
But
they don't like just go in the back corner. They
yeah,
just
a lot of lizards
drop.
will kind of pick a favorite corner. A lot of lizards like to poop in their water bowl.
Oh,
So
great.
they will sit in their water bowl and poop there, which
There's a cocktail.
out. Yeah. And then that's something else we do with them is we soak them regularly for hydration. So
Oh, really?
once a week we give a bath and they kind of sit like water like up to their hips. And a lot of them will poop when they're soaking. So that's how if we need to get a fecal sample from a reptile, that's a lot of times what we'll do is we'll put them in a little warm water bath so we can get a poop sample at the vet.
Well, like that commercial says, enjoy the go, right? So how long do they live?
So approximately 10 years is I would say 8 to 10 is
Wow.
the average. My personal record patient was 16. She just passed actually a few months ago.
Was the name Methuselah?
It was Queenie.
Aw.
She was one of my favorites. But so they can, but I would say that a little caveat to that now is that bearded dragons are so popular and they are so heavily bred and there's a lot of fancy color morphs and stuff like that. that we do see more health conditions at younger ages with certain color patterns and color morphs and stuff like that. So we do see a lot of, unfortunately, like cancers and bad things at age like 4 and 5 and stuff
Wow.
like that too. So
Well, you touched upon some maybe people aren't aware of. I take my dog and cat to semi-annual exams,
Mhm.
and they get their needed vaccinations. You need to take your bearded to see a doctor like Dr. Wilkinson, correct?
yes.
They
Yeah,
just don't hang out at home, right?
So a lot of people think that like because your dog or cat needs vaccines, that's why you should take them in. But
Right.
really the most important part of what we do is the physical exam. So where we're examining the animal and listening to the heart and lungs and feeling the abdomen and looking in the mouth and that kind of thing. And with reptiles, one of the things that we do is we go through your complete husbandry. So what are your temperatures? What lights do you have? What are you feeding it?
Oh, that's
That
important.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
because
Make sure that you're starting out on the right foot. And then, because that's with reptiles, that's how you keep them healthy is to take care of them properly. And so that's our goal. I tell people all the time, my goal is to see you once a year for a wellness visit. Like,
Okay.
I don't want to see you in between because that means your animal's not sick. Like, so that's something we do with reptiles. And then fecal exams, like we're talking about, are really important because we do see a lot of parasites with these guys. And just because they aren't getting vaccines, like, there are other things that we want to see them for and that we're looking for. And we do like wellness blood work with reptiles. Again, reptiles are weird. Their blood work parameters can change based on the season and time of year,
Wow.
gender, and stuff like that. So it's nice to have a baseline when they're healthy. So those are some of the things we do for these guys. Yeah.
now, do you at home? What's your personal pet rundown? What do you have?
Yeah. So currently we have a dog and a cat, and we'll always have a dog and a cat. And then we have a lot of reptiles. So
Come on,
my
that's
son,
what do you got?
my little son, Bill, he has rubber boas. And then we have.
Wait a minute, what's a rubber boa?
It's a boa, a native boa to the U.S. They're like a little brown snake.
Okay.
But they're also like super docile and never bite.
Oh,
So that's what we got him when he was little so that he could have a snake that he could hold. So
oh, that's sweet. What else?
we have some prehensile tail skinks. We have some.
I would hate to be a
pancake
species
tortoises.
named skinks. Wouldn't you? What's a skink?
These guys they're kind of green and black and brown pattern.
Okay.
And then they've got a long tail. So if you're familiar with like a blue tongue skink, so same sort of family, but they've got a long prehensile tail. So
Okay.
prehensile skinks, they're an arboreal animal. We've got pancake tortoises.
Wow.
We have a lychee gecko. We've got some frogs. We've got some Amazon milk frogs. Yep.
And you have a family that loves reptiles. I was doing a little research, and you and your husband, when you got married and had a honeymoon, you went to the Cayman Islands. I know you were enjoying your honeymoon, but what else did you do at the Cayman Islands?
Yeah, one of my personal favorite animals is our iguanas, and especially the Grand Cayman blue iguana. So we went to their facility and got to do some kind of behind the scenes stuff there. And then when we spent most of our time on Cayman Brac, and because we like being away from people and being away from touristy areas. And so we got to help excavate some sea turtle nests and release some sea turtle hatchlings. We got to do some iguana tracking, like their native iguana.
Now there's a honeymoon for an exotic veterinarian, right?
So lots of beach time, lots of snorkeling, scuba diving, all that good stuff too. But we got to do some reptile stuff in there too, which was pretty cool.
So what is your parting message for people who are thinking about getting a bearded dragon or an exotic? What's the best place to find them, and a tip or two?
Yeah. So our most exotic vets will tell you, just please, please, please do your research before you get any exotic pet, because the whole point, like I was saying, like the whole way to keep them healthy is to make sure you're taking care of them properly. So that you're giving them the right temperatures and the right lighting and the right diet and all of that. So do your research before. And that means finding reputable sources, because everybody goes to the internet now. So knowing how to pick out.
So is there like an exotic veterinarian association or something they can?
Oh yeah, good question. So like for reptiles, we have the Association of Reptile and Amphibian Veterinarians, which is ARAV. And we have an equivalent organization for birds and for exotic companion mammals also. So that's always a great place to start with finding a vet that is knowledgeable with the animal that you want. So like,
And you said that so fast, you need to slow down. What is it? The Association of what?
of reptile and amphibian veterinarians. So
Okay.
ARAV.
Thank you. That's what I.
Yeah.
And if bearded dragons could talk and were guests on the show, what would they say to us about us humans? Why do they hang with us?
Because we give them food and we give them cushy things to lay on. That is what they like. I always joke that the bearded dragons we have in the US are not the same as the wild Australian animal. They do. They like pillows. They like hammocks. They're pretty ridiculous.
Little mini
when it comes
hammock.
to that. Yeah.
All right. All right. Hey, I really appreciate I've learned so much about bearded dragons. And I also want to salute you, Dr. Wilkinson, for all that you're doing, because veterinarians, we treat all different kinds of companion pets. And so I appreciate so much. You were my first bearded dragon interview ever.
That's awesome.